Good evening. Time for some guitar. Let me go post the link on our website. The website is denverguitarorchestra.com. We are having our 378th broadcast today. Tonight we will be playing out of Book 1, Book 2, Book 3, and of course our new fun thing we're doing is playing out of the classical stuff as well. So some people are into classical, some people are not. It's perfectly fine either way. Whoops. I just did a dumb thing. Hold on, edit, undo. Alright, let's go here. We'll only post this 378 times. You think I can get it right? Shift, highlight, link, enter, edit, settings, open link in new window, update, and update. Alright, so that should get us going there. Let me run over to Twitter real quick and put this on there. HTTPS. denverguitarorchestra.com. Patience. Click. Guitar, DGO, JPEG, and tweet. Alright, so now we're on Twitter. So we're super important. And then, looks like that's there. Why did I come back here? I don't remember. Alright, Linda's in. Says the sound is good. Got the sound set up correctly. Got using the wide angle camera these days. Trying to get a system here at the house where I can just go bloop and it just happens. So about the time I get everything set up, then I have to change again. But I have the back room has become mine again. I feel very grown up having a normal desk with a normal amount of junk piled around. So let's see. Hey Vic, welcome in. Let's see. Sound is good, so that's good. All right, so we're in great shape. We got the good video, good sound, good internet. It's time for some beautiful music. Tonight we're going to play Row, Row, Row Your Boat. We're going to talk about Three Blind Mice. We're going to play La Cucaracha. We're going to talk about London Bridges. We're going to play For He's a Jolly Good Fellow. We're going to talk about Für Elise. We're going to get into some legit music, guys. And then the classical, those of you guys doing classical, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces that we want to go over. The good news is they're all pretty basic, right? And so we should not have a major challenge getting through all of that. So I've been pushing you guys a little bit on some crazy on songs that are much more difficult than the ones we're going to be working on this week. So hopefully that'll be fun. I'm still working on the playlist for our concert coming up next week. So we'll put that on hold. Let's go to guitar book number 1. And what are we grabbing? View page. Row, row, row your boat, right? All right. So you've had a couple weeks to work on Row, Row Your Boat. We missed last week, I think. All right. Guitar's up. What's the phrase that pays? He waits patiently. Eddie ate dynamite. Goodbye, Eddie. E, A, D, G, B. And I usually run down after I use my gadget to tune, then I usually use the 5th fret now. Everything is on the 5th fret except the 3rd string. You check on the 4th fret. So you go down. These two should sound the same. Close enough. These two should sound the same. They don't. Close enough. These two should sound the same. A little bit low. Then on the 3rd string, use the 4th fret. Again, a little bit low. Pretty close. Okay, and that should get everybody in tune. And then, of course, double check a couple of chords. Here's A minor. E. Here's D minor, A minor, E7. Oh, wait. And then back to A minor. Alright, so we're in 2. Let's go grab Row, Row, Row Your Boat. We want to play it all 3 ways, right? So the first thing is, I do want you to get where you can sing and strum. That's how most people learn to play guitar. And it's also how most people quit guitar, right? They strum through a few of their favorite songs, and then they realize that's it, and then they quit. So let's not be that person. Probably thinking about plucking with 4 fingers on the bottom 4 strings, D, your D, G, B, and E strings. Okay, when you put this shape on, suddenly everything's either a D, an F sharp, or an A. Okay, and here we go. 1, 2. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Now strum. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. And that sounded weird because I hit that top string, and all of a sudden now there's an E note mixed into my D chord. It's going to sound bad, and especially if you have an amplifier, that sound mixed in with that, you're going to get all sorts of horror coming out of an amplifier. So just be mindful. You don't want to hit the 6th string on the D chord, and you'll see on your paperwork there I've got an X right above the chord chart on that 6th string saying, hey, don't hit this. It's going to sound weird. Let's play the melody. Remember, on the melody, when you go up to the 10s, use a little mini bar. Okay, from the top, just the melody. 1, 2. Let's try again. 1, 2. Let's see if I know how to play Row, Row, Row Your Boat. From the top. 1, 2. Note a little wiggle. Right. All right, and then last week or the week before we talked about hey, this is where I think you become a finger style guitarist. This song right here, because while you're only using D chords, it feels definitely like you're using 2 different chords, right? So you're going to use this D chord up here, and then you're also going to use this D chord way down here. Okay, and that's shows it on the alternate D chord up there. The top of your paper, little mini bar on strings 1 and 2 at the 10th fret. Middle finger has to be on the 11th fret of the 3rd string, and then if you can, you want to put your ring finger on the 4th string of the 12th fret, but it's not going to be necessary the way we play this. So the only reason you might do that is then it's really easy to play the melody. Holding that D chord right like that. And of course you're bumping into the body of the guitar here, so if you have a cutaway you won't have that problem, but if you've got a standard guitar like this, you're going to be kind of squished up trying to get all those pieces and parts on. And if it's too much, just do a little mini bar on 10, middle finger 11th fret on the 3rd string, and then you're fine. Okay, all right, so from the tough acts we always go slower. Take your time. First time through, we will claw pluck it. Second time through, we'll thumb strum it. 1, 2. Top. That's all the ways you can play that song. The fourth way we always talk about is, hey, it's time for you to play a duet. Find somebody else who plays guitar in your life or any other instrument, ukulele, piano, harp, organ, whatever other instrument that can do chords. Have them do the chords and you play the melody, and then you switch. Then you play the chords and they play the melody. So that would be the fourth way of playing all of our sheet music. And of course, Monday nights we do that on steroids, right? That's what orchestra is combining chords and melody at the same time playing with other people. Beautiful. Let's talk very briefly about Three Blind Mice. This is the challenge piece. Okay. So first off, we want to learn our G chord. Index finger, 2nd fret, 5th string, middle finger on the top string, 6th string, 3rd fret, and then your ring finger, 1st string, 3rd fret. Okay? You can play all 6 strings. Okay. This is standard issue G chord. There is another G chord hanging out pretty close here. If you take your ring finger, move it up to the 2nd string, still on the 3rd fret, and then add your pinky on the 1st string in that 3rd fret where your ring finger was. Now you have a little bit fancier G, okay, as opposed to this sound. Most of the time when you see old professional guitar players, they usually do this fancier G chord. Okay, it's got a little more oomph at the top of the sound. This sounds, to my ear, sounds a little cleaner if you don't do that, or a little, not cleaner, but a little fuller if you don't do this chord shape. But if you do this chord shape, you get a little extra pop there. A lot of people got like that. Another way to make a G chord, same exact thing, except you're going to use your middle, ring, and pinky. Okay, and that's actually not unimportant because we're going to need to do that on Three Blind Mice. Okay, notice my index finger is free. It can do things now. I can use it for melody playing. Okay, so while you're holding this middle, ring, and pinky, let's sing the song. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 blind mice, 3 blind mice. See how they run, see how they run. They all went after the farmer's wife. She cut off their tails with a carving knife. Have you ever seen such a sight in your life as 3 blind mice? Okay. And so I added in a stupid fancy at the end there just for fun. But remember, always when you're tackling a new song, go through and sing it, right? Read through what's on the paper, go through, pluck your chords, and then also strum your chords. I think both of those are really important to do. The melody here is nothing fancy. You'll be able to do it with no problem. Open to open, open to open, and then so on. So the entire melody is going to be either a 1, a 2, or a 3. And do use your correct fingering here. If it's a 3, use your ring finger. If it's a 2, use your middle finger. If it's a 1, use your index finger. Now, I don't want you to think that that's a rule, like you have to do this no matter what. each song's going to present different ideas about the smartest and best way. And frankly, these days, very often, I'm using my pinky in the 3rd fret rather than my ring finger. And so these are principles, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a nice principle, right? That's how that's going to work. And the next principle is, hey, if we took those 4, it covers frets 1, 2, 3, 4. What if I need to do a higher fret? Well, let's just move the index finger up to 5. 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And then if we need to cover even higher frets, we can use the index, move it up to 9, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now you've covered the entire for standard fretboard, right? Guitar, we have a few extra notes down here that we use sparingly, right? We talked about last night in one of the songs, they have to hit a 15, right? But they do happen, right? It's not that they'll never happen. And especially when you become a rock guitarist and you're doing a lot of high fret work, you'll go up even into 19. I mean, you'll use a lot of those frets, but you need to have an electric guitar with a cutaway and a weird hat, and then you can do that. But for the most part, 1st position, 5th position, and 9th position are going to be your main places that your hand ends up. Now, playing the melody here is no big deal. Okay, you'll be fine. So we'll play through that next week. Here's the problem with this song. Tough Axe is really, really tough. And if it's not gonna go well, that's fine. I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. This is a hard enough song for me to play, and if you're newer, it's really challenging. So ring and middle finger is your G chord. These are really not gonna move. These are gonna hang out here the entire song. Okay, middle and ring. We talked about that in Farmer in the Dell. You plant these 2 fingers right there. They don't really move the entire song. In this case, these 2 fingers are going to hang out here the whole time. Okay, and what I'd suggest with this one is just everything with a nice thumb strum. 3. Then you're going to add your index finger, bind, and take it back off. Nice. And then you got to get your pinky up there to get this decorative note. And then do it again. 3, bind, nice, decorative note. Now, because you're out of fingers, this pinky's got to bunny hop up to the 2nd string. C, and now this is why your index finger has been left open to go get these ones. How they run, decorative. Again, bunny hop. C. Run, pinky finger, they, and then bunny hop it back to the 1st string. All red. This is the hard move. You got to get your index finger under the 2. After the, and then pinky. Farmer's wife, she, pinky up on the 1st string. Cut off there, over the 2. Tails with a carving knife. Have your bunny hum, have index C, such a sight. Bunny hop in your life. 1st fret as 3, decorative note, index finger on 2, 9. And then an open G. Nice. Pinky. Okay, so the one thing that I know when I first started this arrangement is my hand was exhausted by the end. Like the whole thing was just cramping up like crazy because it's really, really good at helping you build good finger strength by just clamping these 2 down and then moving it back and forth to get all of the notes you need. It's not necessarily a pleasant song. It's not a song you're going to play much ever again in your life, but it's a great one to get where you're like, all right, these 2 stay planted. Sometimes I need a 2, sometimes I need a 1, sometimes I need a different 2, and sometimes I'm going to use my pinky here, sometimes it's going to end up here. But the whole time, these 2 guys, while they're wiggling, they're not going anywhere, and that's going to create a whole lot of hand strength that's going to be useful for other stuff down the road. So this week, work on 3 blind mice. And I promise it's as hard as it gets in book one. And then starting next week, we'll spend a few weeks on just strumming, right? So if you want to look ahead, the little booklet that is in the program includes the chords A, F sharp minor, it's your first bar chord, D chord, and E7. Okay, and then we will work on practicing different strumming techniques using that book. That's usually kind of a lot of fun, really. Well, it's either fun or you hate it, one of the two. In any event, we will work on that for a couple weeks, maybe 3, who knows. And there's that. Important note. No, but next Wednesday we'll be fine. Yeah, we'll be fine for class next Wednesday. I will post something on the website if it's not going to work, but it should be fine. All right, so we've got through Row, Row, Row Your Boat and Three Blind Mice. Three Blind Mice is the hardest thing in book 1. Book 2, let's go grab La Cucaracha. Okay, when you think La Cucaracha, what's the first thing that comes to your head? Staccato play. Want to play like we're the cockroach. I'm going to play Tough Uke or Tough Axe. You can play whatever line you are comfortable with. From the top, 4-beat count in, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Or what the sheet music says. Right? That's the actual music that the cockroach is playing to. So dancing to. Beautiful. I would say a couple things on that. Number one, nowhere on here does it say to play it like that, right? It doesn't say staccato. So someday when I update these pages, I'm going to put in the staccato indications. And just know the staccato indications are little dots next to the standard notation. And instead of to the right of the note, like you see on measure 2, you see a quarter note with a dot after it. That makes that note longer. But if you put a dot above that note, then all of a sudden it still has the same length, but you turn it off. Bump, bump, right? And so you have these long notes that are scheduled in time, but we still play them short if they have a staccato notation on there. So I do think when I update this, I will change the paperwork to show staccatos on there. But again, if you didn't know that, you would probably just play it the way we usually play it. There's nothing wrong with that. It just doesn't fit the theme or the idea of the song quite as well. Good. La Cucaracha. That's one of my favorites. All right, we got a little bit of music theory to talk about, so let's go grab London Bridges. And this is not unimportant. I like Three Blind Mice. Oh, Vic likes Three Blind Mice. Are you kidding me? That's a really unpleasantly difficult song. Vic, you've lost your mind. Yeah, Three Blind Mice, when I originally put that arrangement together, I'm like, this is too hard for book one. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? This is what you have to do when you're playing fingerstyle. You have to plant these two fingers and you have to move around it. And yeah, it's not pleasant, but you got to be able to do it. And so I feel like it's sort of tough love, that Three Blind Mice. It's much easier on ukulele, but it's pretty, it's super hard on guitar, and that's what it is. Now, London Bridges is a song you're never going to play again, but there's a really important musical concept here called changing keys. And if you look at page 1 of London Bridges, your main chord is A, and your secondary chord is E. Okay, if you held up your thumb, your 5 fingers, A, B, C, D, E. E shows up on the 5th finger. Okay, so for first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, 5th finger. If I put A here, E shows up here. 1 and 5. It's an important musical concept. Those of you who were in orchestra last night heard Jerome talking to me about a certain chord structure. He wants it to be a more traditional chord structure in that moment. On the song that we were talking about, I'm positive it doesn't need to be, but I understand where he's coming from, because most of the time when you see whatever note, whatever chord is here, a whole lot of time this chord is going to show up. Now, that's not a rule, it's just a tendency. But in this case, this tendency is something you want to get in your head. Hey, when I'm playing in the key of the A, pretty good chance I'm going to see some E's. Okay, and so that's what page 1 is. A's and E's, right? The whole thing. Then, when you get to page 2, the wheels come off, right? Because now we're going to play the exact same song, but now the main chord is C. And so count it out. C, D, E, F, G is going to be its friend, 1 and 5, and sure enough, that's the chord that shows up. Okay, so you have C and G. Now, notice I also gave you the fancy G chord here. You don't have to do the fancy G chord. Okay. But usually I put that in there if it's going to help you when you get to the tough acts. Okay? So first, let's sing it. We're going to sing it in key. We'll sing it all the way through. First time we'll be singing in A, and then the second time we'll be singing in C. And you'll notice in one of those, and I never know which one, my voice will be more comfortable in one key than the other. Linda says, I need to make more practice to make smooth transitions. I think we all struggle with that. I will tell you, tomorrow I have to go to my guitar juries, and I guarantee you there will be places where I struggle with transitions. I've got a song where I'm doing a ton of B minor stuff, which automatically comes with a bunch of F sharps in it. And there, right? It's also got a G chord in it. And so those are going to be a struggle for me in transition. I don't know if that feeling ever goes away, like all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I can totally transition between everything, because I think every song presents you some issues. I think the 2 things I recommend if you're struggling with transitions is, for goodness sake, slow down. There's no requirement. I'll give you an example. If we were doing London Bridges, and I did it so crazy slow. London Bridge is falling down. Transition. Falling down. Falling down. Now, obviously, you don't want to play it that slow in real life, but if you have to, slow it down to those crazy half speed, quarter speed slow, way down, because 2 things will happen. 1, your fingers will get where they know what they got to do, and they'll get there in the correct timing if you're going slow enough. And you won't be I think one of the things that I have a tendency to do, and you want to avoid it, is when you're playing fast, right? You are going to get sloppy. Okay, now what if you're teaching your fingers? You're teaching your fingers, well, get it close and move on. And that's not an ideal lesson to give your fingers because they learn the lessons you teach them. So take your time to be incredibly slow, but stay in proper timing. And I don't necessarily recommend using a metronome, but it does work. London Bridge is falling down. Falling down, falling down, and then once you're like, okay, I'm doing it fine at that speed, then you speed it up. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down, and then obviously that's a multi-step process to get it there. So I think playing incredibly slow. There's no rule that you have to play London Bridges at any tempo. The paper says quarter note equals 100. Well, you guys know that's just a suggestion. That's what the computer is playing it on the website. That's the only place that matters. You get to decide, and that's why we have conductors in life. They look at that and they go, okay, quarter note equals 100. That's what they think it should go. Maybe I'll play a little faster. Maybe we'll play a little slower. And there's no time police to come and beat you up if you're playing too slowly. So give yourself lots of time. And then after you've gotten where you're like, all right, I'm played slow, I know what I'm supposed to do, and you start speeding it up, you'll find your sticking points. Okay? And in this case, let's say you're fighting, I don't think you'll fight anything on this song, but if you find a place in that where you're like, oh gosh, I'm always getting stuck in that spot, then you can dial in and know exactly where your problem is. If you've played it slowly, it will tell you exactly where the hard spots are and those areas where you need to provide a little extra attention to. This song you may not find. I think probably page 2, where you have a C chord, we're a lot more likely to run into some challenges over there than we are on page 1. So let's play page 1 and first let's just strum through it, okay? See if you can keep up with the chords. 1, 2, 3, 4. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, change, falling down, just stays the same. London Bridge is change. C chord. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. It's a much harder chord. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Okay, so you notice all of a sudden, hey, I can play the first page A and E because we've had those in book 1 and gotten pretty comfortable with them. Now in book 2, we're working on getting your C's and G's comfortable, and there's a whole lot more work. And you may have to play page 2 slower than you even that. London Bridge is falling down, falling down. And the third thought on that is you do not have to play all 4 beats. Okay? So for example, measure 9. London Bridge is falling down, beat, falling down, beat, falling down. So I'm doing 4 beats per measure, but you don't have to. You could do 1 beat per measure. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Now you have more time to go in and get your chords changed. So if I hit and measure 10, for example, London Bridge is falling down, and I've abandoned the C chord, moving over to get the G chord. So I'm on time. You'll know you're doing great guitar when your chord is in place, ready to go on beat 1 of whenever that chord shows up. So if you see a chord coming up and you're slow to get to it, you always feel like you're out of control. You always feel like you're not playing that great. And I think the day I figured that out, I'm like, you know what, I can just play one strum per measure. Was the day I felt like I'm in control of my own destiny now, and instead of the other way around. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, oh, falling down. And you won't play that way forever, but it does allow you plenty of time to get your chord on for the next one. Always, and I say this all the time, whatever chord you're on doesn't matter anymore. It's what the next chord is going to be. So if that next chord is the same chord, you're fine. If the next chord is going to be a different chord, you got to think about how long can you hold on to the current chord before you switch over to the next chord. I think that's a real key in the early days of playing guitars. Let the old chord go, be ready for the new chord when it's time to hit it on beat one. All right, so there's your chords. That's the main purpose of this is to give you the same song in two different keys. You notice my voice had to change quite a bit. London Bridge is falling down, falling down. That's A and E. And in C chord, it feels like it's lower. London Bridge is falling down, falling down. Right, and so, but it's not always going to work that way. It's not C is lower than A. That's not the way to think about it. Each song will present its own unique character when it comes to what key you need to sing in or what the best key for you is. And this is just an early example of, hey, if it's in the key of C, there's going to be G's in there. If it's in the key of A, there's going to be E's in there. And then here's your pop quiz. Let's say it's in the key of D. Right, which is not on either of your pages. You're like, I think I'll try it in D. Well, guess what's going to happen? D, E, F, G, and A is going to be its friend. So now I can use my D chord and A chord to play the same song. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. And so you can see how, all right, I'm going to run through the standard group of keys that I like to play in, find the one that fits my voice the best, and then off we go. The other way you know that this happened is when you see singers, they'll often have a capo. Okay, they'll put a capo, here or here. Even I've seen them down here in 7. I'm down here at 9, and that's because they want to only play in one set of chords. So if I'm playing here, when I'm using my D chord. But then I put a capo on here, and well, now I'm going to use these. My D chord is the same shape. I've just moved it up, and now it's still a D shape, but I'm actually going to be playing an E. London Bridge is falling. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. Right? Okay, I can move it up one more. I'll be playing in F. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. And each one of those, obviously the pitch of the guitar is getting higher, but my voice doesn't necessarily have to get higher. I could drop my voice an octave and play right underneath that. If I go down here to 9, right? London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. So you see, you can change the key you play in just by using a capo and singing. That's for those of you guys who like to sing. Let's see. Let's see. Linda says I did on strum per measure. Did one strum per measure for one of the tough pieces yesterday. I was not going to sweat. Heck yeah, right? That's what you do it for. I'm not sweating it tonight. I'm just going to play one strum per measure. It's a perfect solution. The other cool thing about one strum per measure is London Bridge is falling down. You can do all sorts of messing around with the chord while your voice is taking care of it. That's a fun idea. These are the secrets they don't tell new players. We keep a lot of secrets from new players. No, it's not really that we don't tell you. The challenge with new players is you have so much to learn, right? There's just so much. It's just this mountain of tradition and technique and stuff that you got to learn, and so we give you what we think is the most important stuff, and hopefully you happen to hear the thing you need to hear at any given time. My younger self would have picked the hardest parts. Now I'm a slacker. My younger self, here's what I really do believe. I really do believe you'll be happiest playing some hard stuff, some easy stuff, and some middle stuff, right? So I think for the most part, when you get to guitar orchestra, playing melody is plenty, right? But if you're playing just melody here, you're going to get bored. You're like, I can do that. That's kind of, you'll probably get bored. But when you've that same exact skill set, hey, I'm going to play that in an orchestra because it might be the easiest thing, but it's not easy, right? And so that changes how depending on the situation. Meanwhile, I think for me, strumming is so boring, right? But the bridge is falling down. I find that super boring. However, part of that is I'm not a very good singer. If I was a pretty good singer, that would probably make me happy all day long. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. Right? You can go sell that, right? That's something that singers have been doing forever. Learn how to arpeggio pick a guitar and then go sing your heart out, and you'll make them $1 million. So I think it depends, right? And for a lot of times for new players, chords is by far the hardest thing they got to deal with. And then finally, the tough axe here is an important thing for you to try on this one, because you're going to do the tough axe in A the first time through. Right? And that may be hard or easy. And then on the second page, you got to switch your chord and everything gets a lot more interesting. So it's probably going to be a whole lot harder on page 2 to play tough axe than on page 1, probably. But it's not to say page 1's easy. So you'll see, just by switching the key, all sorts of other ideas and thoughts come into your head. And then ultimately, obviously, if you're getting ready to perform for somebody, you would pick the style you're going to play, and then the key you're going to play it in, and then you're not going to do it in the harder part, right? And I think Linda's point, hey, when I was younger, I always wanted to do the hard stuff. I think that's something we do a little bit when we're older. Hey, we want to do some of the hard stuff too, but we also want to be realistic about what we can pull off, and maybe playing the easier stuff is just fine too. All right, a little bit of longer talk on London bridges than I wanted to do, but you see where we're headed with that, right? It's 2 separate keys, 2 separate sets of techniques that you're going to be using, all the same song, just a whole lot of new stuff you get to learn on guitar. Not really new stuff, just stuff you got to fight your way through. Let's go to book 3, For He's a Jolly Good Fellow. All right. And on this one, we do have the repeats that we're learning to do, right? So we come in at measure at the top, and you play all the way down to the end, okay? And then it says DSL fine, you come to the S, the sigma, the segno, not the sigma, the segno at measure 1, and then you're going to play to the fine, which happens at the end of measure 8. Okay, so we're playing 1 through the bottom, and then we come back and play 1 through 8. Again, the purpose of this assignment is to make sure you know what DSL fine means. And then the other thing here that's not unimportant, and you'll feel it, you'll know when to do it, as fermatas. You got a fermata in the middle of page 6, and we want to take it seriously, right? For he's a jolly good fellow. You may whatever speed you want when you're playing on your own. When we're playing together, you have to follow my pacing, okay? And I'll give you a little head bob when it's time. Let's do our chords. Make sure we know how it goes. D chord. Go into G chord. Lots of changes. Okay. And then you have an A7 in here. Okay. And then back to D. When I'm playing this, when I'm on my D chords, I want my thumb on the D string. When I'm playing A chords, I want my thumb on the 5th string, the A string. Okay. And when I'm playing G chords, I want my thumb on the top string, because by holding it down here, it's a G note. Okay. Now I've rooted each chord in the name of the chord. So when it's a D, I'm playing a D in the root. When it's a G, I'm playing a G in the root. And when it's an A, I'm playing an A in the root. It's not required, and certainly when we get into the classical stuff, that goes out the window pretty quickly. And when you get into jazz, they don't even pretend to get that rooting your chords is important till the very last chord. But as you go through more complex music, they won't always root it. But a lot of popular music, a lot of rock and roll, a lot of fingerstyle, a lot of popular music is going to be, you need to at least be aware of where your root is, and then you kind of make a decision whether you want to include that or not. All right, let's do just chords, please. And I'm going to do my usual nightmarish job of singing. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 4. He's a jolly good fellow. 4, he's a jolly good fellow. 4, he's a jolly good fellow. Go. Which nobody can deny. Bum. Which nobody can deny. Which nobody can deny. Strum. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. Let it ring out. Which nobody can deny. Or if I had the vocal chops, I would go up. Which nobody can deny. Right? I don't have those chops, but that's what you could do in harmonica. You guys know we do that in harmonica, right? Bring it up at the end. That's why you learn to play harmonica, so you don't have to sing. So those are your chords. I think the hard one is at measure 5. You're on D, and then you've got to get a D7 jumps in there. Right, so you have to switch out your whole chord shape. It's like, oh man, I'm on a perfectly good D chord. If you don't, it's fine. We have for he's a jolly good fellow. Right, you can't just stick with a D, but it sounds better if you put that D7 on there. Okay, let's play the melody. 2-beat count in. First notes of 3. 1, 2. Here. So it's 5, 5, 5, 8. No, 5, 5, 5, 9, 9, 10. All right. Okay. Oh, I actually wrote it down last time. 7, 9, 10. With a fellow with which nobody. 7, 9, 10. There you go. All right, beautiful. Finally, tough axe. Let's get it done. Okay. This will be harder than we want it to be. How about thumb this time? 1, 2. Sorry, all right. Goodness. The top. Beautiful, right? And a lovely piece of music. You will never play it like that. You will always sing this to people, right? But you could if you want to. All right, now, very quickly, Für Elise, your book 3, right? This is supposed to be like, this is a challenge, but this is kind of cool. We can play this. Okay, I won't talk about everything, single thing on it in here. The first thing I see, these in the tough X line, these giant chords, giant. They're probably going to be too much as you get into there. Da 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 da, womp dum dum. Right, we probably don't want to do that, but you might. Right, depends on how your guitar sounds. B7. It feels like it's overwhelming, right? And so you might want to think about not playing the entire chord. Maybe this much of it. Maybe plucking it. Okay, it's classical, so you would imagine his performers would probably be thinking pluck first. And then maybe not the whole B7. That 4 in the middle of measure 3 is a bummer. And then maybe a partial E minor here. So practice it in lots of different ways and find out the way you want to play it. I will tell you the fun way to play it is the guitar line, just to play an old melody. Repeat, obviously. My neighbor who's been playing piano for many years, I heard her playing this the other day, and she was going through it like she can play, like she knows what she's doing on the piano, but she was going through it dun 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 dun, right? She's looking for fluidity as well as we are, right? Slowing it down, figuring out where her problems are going to be, and then dealing with them. A brief word of warning. Measure 11 is going to make you sad, so let's just talk about it real quick. 0007 as a measure 10. 8-7, and then you have, when you see a mess like that, you find your lowest note. That's a 3. That's where your index finger goes. You've got a 4 up here. That's where your middle finger goes, and then the next 2 are 5s, and those go here. If you have been on ukulele, you will recognize your E7 shape. On guitar, it's your B7 shape moved up to the 3rd fret. Okay, and then you're just going to either pluck or strum that. Whoops. Okay, and then notice the entire the next 3 notes you're already holding them down. And then you got to let the chord go to get to the 7 and 5. Five, 3. big B7 here. Okay, and then it repeats. The same as the same thing happens here as at the beginning. So what you're going to do is the beginning, repeat the beginning, play that weird stretch of notes there between measures 9 and 13, and then you're going to play the beginning again, basically. So you got to learn the beginning, and you have to learn that little section there, and then you've got 99% of the song done. A couple of minor changes along the way as you're wrapping it up, but it's really not a ton of music here. It's just that theme that everybody knows. And when you play it on piano, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum, right? It's super fast. But remember, on piano, everything's right here. This is what you're doing. On guitar, we have a lot of work to do to get all of this stuff in there. And I don't remember on the original how much chords that Beethoven wrote in there. On this arrangement for guitar, there's a lot of chords in there. So you're going to be adding that into what you have to do. I will point out measure 21. If I don't point it out, you'll mess it up. When you get to the end and measure 20, you got chord. You've been playing eighth notes the whole entire song, and now you have quarter notes. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so 21 is purposely half the speed of everything else. So when you get to 21, don't rush. Now you can tell when you're in a private lesson, I don't even tell you about measure 21 because I know where it's going to be a great opportunity for us when you goof it up to talk about, hey man, don't assume everything's an eighth note just because you've been playing all eighth notes. Pay attention to that standard notation. Okay, that's a fun one to work on, guys. You can really, honestly, you can work on that one for many years and you'll have a great time with it. All right, that's the end of book 1, 2, and 3. Let's now take a look at the classical stuff, and you probably took a look at it already. Much easier than the stuff we have been working on, and so we'll run through it pretty quickly here. Let's go grab exercise 15. And really, it's weird. If I'm the editors of the Royal and Canadian Royal RCM, Royal Conservatory, RRM, is it RMC? Royal Canadian, the Royal Conservatory. What's the M stand for? I don't remember. If I'm them, I'm not putting all the exercises at the back of the book, which is what they did, because what happens? You get to the exercises, you're like, I don't like those, I'm moving on. You mix the exercises in with the repertoire. It's crazy that they put all the exercises at the end of the book. So we're going to zip through these exercises pretty quickly to finish out the book. That's the good news, right? The bad news is we have some stuff that's maybe not quite as fun to play as some of the other stuff we've been playing, but it's good for us, right? We'll get smarter. So exercise 15, C chord. Remember earlier we're working on London bridges and there's your C chord? Well, here we go. Okay, put a C chord on. And then the only thing that happens in measure 3, we're going to have to put on a partial F chord. All we're going to do is lower these two fingers down there. Royal Conservatory of Music out of Toronto. Okay, so yeah, Royal Conservatory of Music. And the M stands for music. How about that? How smart of them. Also, notice on this exercise, since it's an exercise, you kind of want to follow all the rules. It says AM. That's, remember, P-I-M-A. Thumb, index, middle, ring. P-I-M-A, Spanish words, right? They want you to use AM on the first measure, I-M on the second measure, I-P on the third measure, and then back to I-M. Okay, and then notice it's a G chord, so you're going to take your fingers off completely. Then measure 5, A-M, but you're holding a D minor. And then measure 6 is going to be your I-M with opens. And then back to AMs with 1 and 0 and 1. And then at the end, you're going to use those same things. Now, important, Okay, in fingerstyle we would always put the full chord on because you might use it, right? It's going to be handy. But in classical, a lot of times you're not going to. So you may not really put 2 and 3 down until measure 3. You may just be using this one finger over here. Conservatory, Royal Conservatory of Music out of Toronto. Yes, we were very fancy. Okay, and because it's from Canada, you know that it's real. It's not some American thing that's kind of halfway patched together with duct tape. It's good. They really are amazing books. I just don't know why they crammed all the exercises at the end of the book. That seems ridiculous. All right, from the top, let's give it a try. You might grab your whole C chord. No, don't have to. 1, 2. Oh, it's in 2. So I count it as 1 and 2 and. 2 and 3. Nothing. 1 and 3. Opens. Repeat. Quarter note. D minor. I hated the program for piano. Well, you're also probably were you a younger learner? I think the problem with conservatory music is that teachers get a chance to take the rest of their career off, right? They're like, here is the official curriculum for your life, and they hand you 8 books, and you're like, all right, I'll just start every kid that walks in the door on book 1, whether that kid likes that kind of music or not. Here, book 1, do book 1. And as we all know in music, there's lots of ways to do it, and when somebody says this was the only way we do it, then a lot of times it's ridiculous, and so what happens every about 5-10 years. They probably come out with a new set of books, and the teachers are like, oh, I'm just going to keep using the old book, but that's the downside of it. The good side is that it's really pretty solid material. Like, it's really useful, but it does require some interaction and thinking about, hey, do my students really want to learn classical music? Because if they do, this might be a great way to do it. But if they'd rather be rock stars, if they'd rather play punk music, if they'd rather play Tin Pan Alley or jazz, this maybe isn't the best way to go, right? And I think especially when a teacher's following this rigid program and you're like, this isn't really working for me, a lot of teachers are like, well, you should just go find a different teacher, and so there's this sort of negativity that surrounds it. It's kind of a bummer. Hey, let's look at exercise 17. Same exact idea. We just played the same pieces all year to pass the annual exam, right? That's the other huge monstrous problem with conservatory music. I'm taking my exam for school tomorrow, and I have to tell you, there's a huge part of me that's like, this is such ridiculous. There's no tests in music. There is no tests in music. There's tests in academia. I can assure you, Eminem, the Slim Shady, didn't sit down up there in Detroit and take music tests, right? He went out and made music. I'm pretty sure Ariana Grande is singing her little heart out, hasn't once ever taken a test on how to go about doing that. It makes me just mental. Right? The tests are for a certain group of students who like tests, right? And they're usually academically minded. To me, it's insane. Like, I think you can judge yourself. How am I doing on these things? So should I put a little more time in them or not? But to pass an exam, oh my God, it's so crazy. Like, I did have one student, she came in, she says, I'm past book 5 of whatever program she thought. And I thought, good for you. She says, let me play for you. So she plays for me, and she says, so what level is that in your program? I'm like, it's not related to my program at all. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like you're a pretty good player. And I think because it wasn't this rigid, do these things, take a test, do these things. I don't think she was interested because she was academically minded, right? And I don't know. It drives me bananas that there's tests in music. It's just like the people who are making music aren't taking tests. They're working on making better music every day. All right, there's my little soapbox speech. Here we go. Let's do this. Again, noticing you don't have to put on your whole A minor here. You can just put on 1 and 2 and survive measure 1. So maybe that's the way to do it. Also, I am A. Try not to use P-I-M because it says A-M-I, right? So we're trying to follow the directions. Okay, and we're going to do 3 strings. When we get to measure 5, yeah, because we're bringing in that 4th string, we're going to use P-I-M. Let's give it a try. 1, 2, 3. D minor, G7, C, P. Change your chord. Opens. Let's go back to the top. Sister found my grade 1 certificate last summer. Yeah. Did you frame it and put it up on the wall? You should. Seriously. I wonder how many books were there in the piano program? Probably 10 at least, I would guess. Guitar has a smaller repertoire, so they probably don't have as many books, even though guitar is a much harder instrument to play than piano, I think. Piano players would deny that, but I think for the most part. But I think this instrument's ridiculously difficult to play. I will point out, measure 6. I cheated. I went to this D7, or I'm sorry, D minor shape, index, middle, and ring. But look what the sheet music says. Hey, you're supposed to use 2, 3, and 4. So that's this one, 2, 3, and 4. Now, why is this superior? Because that means your index finger stays useful. So you're coming out of the C chord. Drop your middle finger, add these two, and I've never even had to move my index finger, right? And then you open it up. I would say this shape, even though when you encounter it, you're like, that's stupid, why would I do that? Middle, ring, and pinky. When you're so comfortable with this D7 shape up here on these different strings, you do want to be able to do both, as always, right? Because it's lovely to have your index finger available for what's coming next. Now, in this song, nothing comes next, but it often will, right? And so if you can get comfortable with middle, ring, and pinky on that D minor shape, as well as your index, middle, and ring, both of those, you want to be able to do both. Tossed it probably. I think it goes back... Yeah, I think it goes up to grade 12. Yeah, piano has a huge repertoire. It's crazy how much music pianos have. I think part of that is when you're a composer, piano is a pretty useful tool, right? You got all the notes, and you pluck it, and it says exactly what that note is, and then it fades away, right? And it's really, really handy. Guitar, not so much. You're like, all right, I got a G chord. Well, I can do this G chord, I can do this G chord, I can do this other G chord, and then I have all these G chords up here, I got this, right, and they're all over the place, and you're like, jeez. Think about E note, just the E note. You got it here, 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 and what about here? Right, so you got 4, same note, right? Which E note do you want? It's crazy. Exercise 17. I think play through these once or twice, make sure you know what they're telling you to do, and then you move on, right? We don't spend a ton of time on them. Now, the study, the next one on the list, and I know we're going to run a little late. We'll just talk about the next 3 in the packet. In the study here, I think by James Brown, I love that. This is by James Brown. Not that James Brown. This actually has some music in it, right? There's actually some stuff to be worked on here. And you notice that I didn't put any chords on here because the chords are not going to be helpful here. You're thinking about, all right, I got 1s, 2s, and 3s, probably going to play in first position. And I'm probably going to assign fingers P-I-M-A, thumb, index, middle, and ring onto my strings here. She tossed. Call her up and tell her that was the most important achievement in your life is your grade 1 piano exam from the Royal Conservatory. And she tossed. Call him up and see if we can get a replacement certificate. All right, let's try. Now, notice on the standard notation what a mess this is. It's like half note, quarter note, quarter note. Well, what does that mean? It means nothing, generally speaking. If you look at the tablature, you're like, oh, I see. That first half note goes for a little while, and then the reason it stops is because you have to use that string again, 0, 3. Well, the tablature in this case is so much clearer than the standard notation, and so you're just like, oh, well, really, it's just all quarter notes all the way through. You're just going to let the notes ring until I have to hit the string again. So in my mind, the tablature is a vastly superior way to present this song. That's not always true, but most of the time it is. Let's give it a try. And I'm looking through it going, all right, I'm not going to use the 5th string until the 6th measure, so I'm going to plant P-I-M-A and just go with it. And I'm thinking probably 1s, 2s, and 3s, index, middle, and ring. All right, from the top, 1, 2, I said 8th notes, I meant quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's a 5th string. Should have been an A. There's a real half note. To the real half note. Also pay attention to how wildly out of tune this string got. So think of it, the whole thing in quarter notes, and it would make sense, right? If you think, oh, the whole thing's in quarter notes, I'm just going to let the notes ring that are not on, that I don't have to stop ringing. So the whole thing, it's meant to keep those nice things flowing through here. But the standard notation gives you a very inaccurate view of what you're going to actually be doing here, I think. Whereas the tablature is like, yeah, okay, I see what I'm supposed to do. Made a couple of mistakes. I hit a couple of wrong strings along here. So let's play it one more time. And really, there's not much more to be learned here. From the top, 1, 2, 3, 4. I might tend to make that first note in 16 a little bit longer than a half note, and then the last note in 16 just let it ring. I see I got to separate the staves a little bit. I got the standard notation bumping into the tablature there. All right, so there's that. I mean, not a ton there. It's I think the big idea there is clamp your hand down into your claw position and then use your thumb on the second string, fourth, fifth, and sixth strings. Your twos and threes are not going to be doing too much, but your thumb's going to be busy, and also letting your notes ring. Right? Don't move anything you don't have to. That's a probably pretty good tool there. Now, I told both of you guys I fixed lesson 62 for Sagreras. So I changed a couple notes. You know, what are you going to do? And I added a very cool repeat. So let's play through this lesson 62. I'm actually really proud of this. I'm going to put it in my things to practice. Grab your claw, and again, grabbing the whole chord may not be helpful here, but I give them to you anyway. Okay, so from the top, we're going to go real slow. 1 and 2 and. Whoops, I'm sorry. Here's the change. Okay, so those are 3 notes in the space of 4, so a little bit of a it'll feel like you're slowing down, but you're really not. Whoops! I read into the first ending. I need to put my yellow line on there, so it'd be the ending is right. You probably should play. Let me think. Should we play 8 again? Nah. Well, we could do an upstrum. Let's do that. So yeah, so I think I changed one note and then added in a repeat turnaround in there, and I think it plays a lot better. So Julio, you're welcome. He's very. By the way, we're going to be playing a lot of Sagreras over the next couple of years. I absolutely adore his music, and it's from Argentina, and so it's a little bit different than a lot of the classical that we get to play, and it just really got that South American feel to it. It's really cool music. Absolutely incredible what he did. Volumes and volumes of the music, and it's all really well organized and stuff, so we're going to be doing quite a bit of it. So play that. That's a real song, right? That's really cool. Wanted to talk very quickly about the other tunes that I posted for you guys, and let me just make sure I've got them correct. Etude number 6 by Aaron Shearer is pretty involved piece of music, right? So spend a little bit of time looking at that this week, and mostly it's grabbing the chords and playing boom, ding, 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 right? So P-I-M-I, P-I-M-I, P-I-M-I. That's what you're going to be doing on Etude number 6. The Prelude number 9, we did this way back in the day when I first introduced this stuff, but it'll be very similar. P-A-M-I, I-M-A-M-I, P-A-I-M-A-M-I, right? So that's what he's working on theirs. Again, just getting your arpeggio picking in good shape. We're going to be doing some Giuliani, who wrote out, I don't know how many arpeggios this summer. I'm going to be working on some of them, so you'll be working on some of them. And same thing, just getting your arpeggio picking going. And then lesson 46 is another one by Sagreras. It's not as good as lesson 62. So if you want to spend time on any of them, lesson 62 is the way to go. We will probably play lesson 62 again next week. So this week, take a look at Etude number 6, the Prelude number 9. Neither of those will give you much trouble. Lesson 46, again, you can look at the tablature and you're like, oh, it's another arpeggio study. But lesson 62 2 is the song that's really worth putting your time into, and making that sound as bold and as beautiful and as fearless as you can. I think you'll have a lot of fun with that one. Whew, that's a lot of guitar for one night. Hope you guys are doing great. I'm delighted to learn about Linda. I think I knew that you had done the piano course with the Royal Conservatory, and I'm sad that it was not a positive experience for you. I notice in these books that I'm tabbing out for us that they are very clear, like when you do the exam you have to do the repeats, and that's all that kind of stuff in those books, and it just makes me just dismally unhappy that's how academia has decided people need to learn music, because the few people that survive in that environment are probably not always, but too often, maybe not the people we want making music. So, all right, there we go. You guys should be making music because you're awesome. I will see y'all. What's today? I won't see you again until next week. Pretty crazy week coming up. Tomorrow I got juries. I gotta go make sure I know how to play and sing and keep rhythm, and then so I will see you guys in ukulele on Monday. No ukulele class on Friday this week. I should have mentioned that in the email, but I forgot. And then that's it. That's all I know. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you soon. Peace.